Hello students, I welcome you all in today's lecture for preparation of GATE examination. This lecture is conducted under Prerna scheme. This Prerna scheme is sponsored by All India Council for Technical Education. So before starting today's lecture, I would like to introduce myself. I am Mohit Singh Katoj, working as Assistant Professor in Civil Engineering Department of Tulsiramji Gaikwad Patil, College of Engineering and Technology, Nagpur. Today we are going to study environmental engineering and the topic is air pollution, its sources, effects and prevention. So let us start with our topic air pollution. So first we will see the index. We are going to study regarding the basic definition of air pollution, what are the various types of air pollution, what are various causes and effects, sources and the prevention of air pollution. So let us start with the first most important question. What is pollution? So pollution is basically any change in background concentration of anything. So any substance which is introduced into the environment that adversely affects the usefulness of that particular resource is known as a pollutant, and that pollutant pollutes that entire resource. Pollution happens because no process is 100% efficient, and such each process produces some amount of pollution. So coming on to our today's topic, air pollution, it is defined as the concentration of one or more contaminants or combinations of such contaminants in such quantities and of such durations as may be or tend to be injurious to humans, animals or plant life, property, or which unreasonably interferes with the comfortable enjoyment of life or property or conduct of any sort of business. So, in short, air pollution hampers human health, animal health, and plant health. It also damages the property, and the comfort of enjoyment of life is hampered. So air pollution is a broad term applied to all the physical, chemical and biological agents that may modify the natural characteristics of the atmosphere and the environment. We all know that atmosphere comprises of various gases such as nitrogen, carbon dioxide, oxygen and various other inert gases. Nitrogen is around 78% in total volume of the atmosphere. Oxygen is 20%. When some pollutant or some contaminant enters the environment, enters the atmosphere, and creates imbalance in these concentration of gases, then we say that the air is polluted. So air is polluted due to some pollutants. These are known as air pollutants. So what are these? These are the substances dwelling temporarily or permanently in the air. They stay in the air for some short duration of time or for a very long duration of time. So they may dwell temporarily or permanently in the air. These air pollutants alters the environment by interfering with the health, comfort or the food chain, or by interfering with the property values of people. So this pollutant interferes with the health and comfort and our food chain and hampers the normal life of humans as well as plants and animals. A pollutant can be either solid, liquid, or gaseous in nature. It may originate from a natural or anthropogenic source or from a combination of both the sources. Anthropogenic source means man-made sources. So the pollution generated due to human activities is known as anthropogenic source. So we'll see regarding natural and anthropogenic sources in further slides. So, in studies, it is estimated that anthropogenic sources have changed the composition of global air by less than 0.01%. But even a small change can have a significant adverse effect on the climate, ecosystem, and species on the planet. And we are observing these changes in form of global warming, climate change, greenhouse effect, and so on. Uneven rainfall, uneven winter and rainy seasons, unnatural floods, unnatural earthquakes. So these are various changes which are indirectly related to air pollution. So these air pollutants can be classified into majorly two categories. First is primary air pollutant and second is secondary air pollutants. So primary pollutants are the one which are emitted directly from the identifiable sources. That is, they are generated from a particular source in their original form. So these type of pollutants are known as primary pollutants. Next is secondary pollutants. These are the pollutants which are produced in the atmosphere when certain chemical reactions takes place among the primary pollutants. So when two or more primary pollutants chemically react with each other in the atmosphere in presence of certain atmospheric conditions like moisture or lightning, electrical charges, then these primary pollutants converts themselves into secondary pollutants. So as you can see in this diagram, there is one stationary source like an industry and a mobile source like a car. Both this stationary and mobile source are generating primary pollutants which are carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide, and hydrocarbons. So these are the primary pollutants which are generated from the particular source. When these primary pollutants reach upper heights in the atmosphere, they react with each other and with the atmospheric agents and are converted into secondary pollutants such as sulfuric acid, nitric acid, and sulfur trioxide, ozone, etc. So when pollutants are generated from the source, identifiable source, they are known as primary air pollutants. Examples are given here as carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, etc. And when these primary pollutants reacts with each other in the presence of atmospheric conditions and agents, they are known as secondary air pollutants. So example is formation of ozone in photochemical smog. So the major primary pollutants we can classify as number one, particulate matter, next sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, volatile organic compounds, carbon monoxide, and lead. So these are major primary pollutants which hamper the health of our atmosphere. So in this diagram, we can see what are the primary pollutants, how much is their percentage presence in the atmosphere, and on the right side, we can see what are the sources from which primary pollutants are generated. So we can see that the major primary pollutant is carbon monoxide, which is almost 49.1% of the total primary pollutants. Nitrogen oxides have 14.8 percentage share. Volatile organics have 13.6 percentage share. Sulfur oxides are at 16.4% and particulate matters are at 6% total share in the primary pollutants. Now we will come to the sources. So major source of primary pollutants is transportation. The two-wheelers, three-wheelers, cars, and the public transport which we use contributes almost 46.2% of the entire primary pollutants. Second source, major source is the stationary source and the fuel combustion, which generates almost 27.3% of primary pollutant. Industrial produces processes generates that the most dangerous primary pollutant is carbon monoxide, and the most prominent source from where primary pollutants are generated is the transportation and fuel combustion sources. So here we can categorize the sources of primary pollutants into natural and anthropogenic sources, that is created by humans. So humans create primary pollutants from combustion processes, chemical processes, nuclear or atmospheric processes, roasting, heating, refining processes, mining, quarrying, and farming. So all these processes generate primary pollutants, and all these processes are human made. Next, we will come on to natural sources. So natural sources includes volcanic eruptions, sea breakages, pollens, fires, blowing dust, and bacterial viruses. So all these are natural sources of primary pollution generation. Amongst these, fire, blowing dust, and bacteria viruses are accentuated by human activities. That is, their effect, their we can say percentage is multiplied in many folds due to human activities. Naturally, they are source of primary pollutants, but the generation is in very less quantities. But when these natural sources are combined with human activities, then fire, blowing dust, and bacterial viruses are accentuated. That is, they are multiplied many folds. So that was about primary pollutants. Now we will see secondary air pollutants. Some primary air pollutants react with one another or with other chemicals in the atmosphere and in presence of atmospheric agents and forms secondary air pollutants. So in this diagram, we can see again stationary source is our industry and factories. Mobile source is our transportation vehicles. We can also see some natural sources like volcanic eruption. All these natural and man-made sources generate primary pollutants, which are carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, most hydrocarbons, and most suspended particles. So these are the primary pollutants. These primary pollutants reacts with each other or with some other chemicals in the atmosphere in presence of various atmospheric agents and form secondary pollutants like sulfuric acid, ozone, PAN, that is peroxyacetyl nitrate, etc. We will see secondary air pollutants in detail. So atmospheric sulfuric acid is one of the main example of a secondary air pollutant. We say that acid rains are happening in major parts of the world. So that is an example of secondary air pollutant. Air pollution in urban and industrial areas is often called as smog. So this smog is formed due to two words, smoke and fog. When both these combine together, we say that smog has formed in a particular area. Photochemical smog, a noxious mixture of gases and particles, is produced when strong sunlight triggers photochemical reactions in the atmosphere. So when smog forms, it is a natural process, but when smog is formed during early morning, when sunlight comes, this sunlight triggers the photochemical reaction in the atmosphere, and hence photochemical smog is created. The major component of photochemical smog is ozone. So remember this point. This may be asked in the GATE examination, that what is the major component of photochemical smog? we can say that there are two major components. First is ozone and second is the sunlight, which triggers the photochemical reaction. So due to this air pollution, there are various effects in the atmosphere, such as acid rains, particulate matter pollution, indoor air pollution, outdoor air pollution, ozone depletion, which is a very serious issue, greenhouse effects, and black carbon pollution. So these are the major effects of air pollution which can be seen. So in outdoor air pollution, we can say that motor vehicles and volatile organic compounds are created due to the human activities, and also these motor vehicles and power plants, industrial activities generate nitrogen oxides. All these combines with sunlight. It triggers photochemical reactions at ground level. Ozone and fine particles also combine with these pollutants and smog is created. So this is an formation of smog. This process shows how smog is formed and how ozone is a major component of smog. Mechanism of air pollution due to smog. This is a classic photograph of temperature inversion. It has been shown in more detail in a further slide. I will explain this. First, we will see this photograph. We can see that an inversion layer of warm air is sandwiched between two cool layers. So this cool sea breeze coming from the seaside comes on the land and tries to go in the upward direction. We can also see how air pollution has generated and accumulated here, and normally this air pollution tends to rise upwards with the cool sea breezes. But when such warm air inversion layer forms, it traps the entire pollutants in the same place, and this is a very dangerous situation which creates various health issues. So this is a very tricky situation, and we see these type of situations generally in winter season when temperature is very lower. So we can see here temperature inversion. It is more clearly explained in this diagram. This is the normal pattern of air pollutant flow. This is a industry. It generates air pollution. At the bottom there is warm air, above that is cool air, and above that is cooler air. Let us say near ground level the temperature is 30 degrees, above that second layer is of 25 degree, and above that the layer is of 15 to 20 degrees Celsius. So due to this temperature flow, air will flow in the upward direction. This is a normal pattern, and it will take all the air pollutants with itself and keep them in the upper layers of the atmosphere. So this is a normal pattern. But when thermal or temperature inversion happens, this warm inversion layer is sandwiched between two cool air layers, and this warm air inversion layer traps the air pollutants and the entire air pollution and does not allow them to follow the normal pattern in the upward direction, and because of that the entire air pollution return backs towards the ground level and hampers the health of all the residents of that particular area. So this is a classic example of temperature thermal inversion and how air pollution hampers the health of people. Acid rain, another byproduct of air pollution. All the factories and our transportation vehicles generates sulfur dioxides and nitrogen oxides. They rise up in the air. These gases are carried by the wind in at the higher altitudes. There they mix and dissolve with the rainwater, and certain atmospheric conditions create such situation that acid is formed and it mixes with the rainwater. And when this rainwater reaches towards the ground, acid also follows this rainwater. This acid rain kills the plant life, it pollutes the rivers and streams, and also erodes the stonework. One classic example of acid rain is the yellowish nature of the Taj Mahal minarets. There was a factory known as Mathura Refineries near Taj Mahal on the banks of river Yamuna. So the air pollution which was generated by that Mathura refineries, it was causing acid rain in its adjoining areas. And because of this acid rain, the white marble of the Taj Mahal was getting converted into yellowish in nature. So this was seen as a very great concern, and the government authorities acted quickly on this, and they found out the source of the generation of this acid rain, and they quickly shut off those Mathura refineries and all other harmful industries which were in the vicinity and nearby areas of Taj Mahal. And after that, these type of acid rains have stopped or at least reduced in the frequency in the area near Taj Mahal. So greenhouse effect, this is another result of air pollution. Normally what happens is sun rays touches the surface of the earth. Some of the sunlight is absorbed by the earth's surface and major portion is reflected back. That is, the major solar radiation is reflected by the earth and the atmosphere. But what happens is after air pollution, the concentration of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, peroxyacetyl nitrate, these type of gases increases in the atmosphere, and normal tendency of these gases is to restrict the normal reflection of the solar radiation. So what happens is these solar radiations which were to be reflected back into the space, they are trapped inside the atmosphere. So it is here written that in the greenhouse effect, some of the infrared radiation passes through the atmosphere, but most is absorbed and re-emitted in all directions by greenhouse gas molecules and clouds. The effect of this is to warm the Earth's surface and the lower atmosphere. That means the temperature of the Earth's surface is rising day by day because these greenhouse gas molecules are trapping the normal sunlight which has to be reflected back into the space. So what happens? Slowly and steadily, the Earth's temperature is rising, and because of this rising temperature, our polar ice caps are melting, our normal climatic cycle has hampered, and we have seen various types of flash floods or unnatural floods in areas where we have rarely seen any type of rainfall. So these are the greenhouse effects, and in this way greenhouse effect affects the normal climatic cycle of earth. Ozone depletion also happens due to air pollution. The chlorofluorocarbons and hydrochlorofluorocarbons, they attach to the ozone layer which is present in the stratosphere. These chlorofluorocarbons attack the ozone particles and damages them. Because of this, there are creation of holes in the ozone layer. Major ozone layer holes are seen in the pole areas, North Pole and South Pole. And we have seen that when holes are created in the ozone layer, the harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun's rays directly reaches the surface of the earth, and it affects the environment as well as the human beings. We can see in the diagram that the effects of ozone layer on environment: crops are damaged, urban pollution and material damage. So materials get damaged due to UV radiations, and Plants and crops are also damaged due to increased UV radiation. Also, there are some effects of ultraviolet radiation on human beings, such as weakened immune system, skin cancer, acute eye defects and cataracts, and malnutrition. So, if ultraviolet radiation is not filtered by the atmosphere, we can see that environment as well as human beings both are affected in a very severe manner. So apart from outdoor pollution, there are some types of indoor pollution also, such as in the bedrooms, poor ventilation, dust and dust mites, bacteria and viruses, dry cleaning and pad dandering. These all processes creates air pollution in the indoor environment. We can see that in living areas, tobacco smoking, furniture and carpeting, pets, wood stoves and fireplaces, all these type of processes generates indoor air pollution. In the kitchen also we can see cooking smoke, gas appliances, household cleaning agents, garbage pails and plumbing leaks creates indoor air pollution. In yards, we can see that pollen grains, dusts, pesticides and herbicides contributes in indoor air pollution. So these are the common sources of household indoor air pollutions. Now we will see what are the sources of air pollution. So basically the sources are classified into two types: natural air pollution sources and man-made air pollution sources. Man-made sources are also known as anthropogenic sources. So natural air pollution includes pollen grains, volcanic eruptions, forest fires, dust storms, spores, bacteria, and other microorganisms. Man-made or anthropogenic sources includes industrial units, thermal power plants, automobile exhausts, fossil fuel burning, mining, and nuclear explosions. Further, the sources can be classified into stationary air pollution source and mobile air pollution source. So stationary sources are those which stay at a particular place, such as industries, factories, etc. So these stationary sources and mobile sources are classified into three types: point source, area source, and line source. So what is point source? Point source is a large stationary source, such as a big thermal power plant, a big industry. These are all point sources. Very large stationary sources comes under point source. Next is area source. So small stationary sources and mobile sources with indefinite routes. That is small industries, small factories, and the mobile sources with indefinite routes. That is our two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, which are not having a particular definite route. These all comes under area sources. And third category is the line source. Line source consists of all the mobile sources with definite routes, that is railway, airways and sea routes. All these contribute into the line source of air pollution. So we can summarize that the pollution sources are of man-made or anthropogenic sources. Some other anthropogenic sources are also included in this. There are some natural sources and some contaminants which contribute in the air pollution. So anthropological sources, that is man-made sources, includes combustion of fire-powered thermal power plants, vehicles with internal combustion engines, devices powered by two-stroke cycle engines, that is our two-wheelers, stoves and incinerators, especially coal ones, wood fire burning inefficiently, and farmers burning crop waste. We have seen that the farmers in Punjab, Haryana regions, they burn their crops. It is known as burning of parali. Parali jalai jati hai. This crop burning creates air pollution episodes in New Delhi. The air quality of New Delhi reduces drastically due to this crop burning. So we have to educate the farmers that they should stop burning their crop waste. They can utilize that crop waste into generation of biodiesel, biofuels, so that we can utilize that crop waste in some positive way. Other anthropological sources includes aerosol sprays and respiratory diseases. Decomposition in landfills, which generate methane gas, and it is also a big contributor in air pollution. So all these are some other type of anthropological man-made sources. Natural sources includes dust from natural sources, methane emitted from decomposition of animals and cattle, smoke and carbon monoxide from wildfires, volcanic activity which produce chlorine, sulfur and ash particulates. All these contribute into the natural sources of air pollution. So there are some contaminants which contribute majorly into air pollution. These are carbon monoxide, chlorofluorocarbons, hydrocarbons, lead and heavy metals, nitrogen oxides and sulfur dioxides. So keep these contaminants in mind. These can be asked in the examination. So now we will see what are the effects of air pollution on health. There are short-term effects and there are long-term effects. So short-term effects includes irritation to the eyes, nose and throat, irritation in the upper respiratory infections, headache, nausea and allergic reactions, asthma and emphysema. So all these are short-term effects of air pollution. These are very prominent and can be seen within a short duration of exposure to the air pollution. Long-term effects of air pollution includes chronic respiratory diseases, lung cancers, heart diseases, damage to the brain nerves, livers or kidneys. So all these are the long-term effects. So these effects are seen when continuous exposure to the air pollution is happening. So we must remember that 7 million people die every year from air pollution in the entire globe. And the main causes of air pollution are industries, transportation, forest fires, radiation, and aerosols. So it is our duty to curb this air pollution and stop this waste of life and give some healthy environment to humans as well as plants and animals to live and thrive. In this diagram, we can see how air pollution damages various parts of human bodies. Hair is damaged due to radiation. Eye and mucous membrane irritation occurs due to ozone, particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, and benzopyrene. Benzopyrene is a hydrocarbon. Respiratory diseases, liver, spleen, and blood damage, bone damage. All this happens due to radiation, nitrogen oxide, nitrogen dioxides, particulate matters, etc. Headache, fatigue, anxiety happens due to sulfur dioxide. Nervous system damage occurs due to particulate matters and aerosols radiations. Cardiovascular damages occurs, skin damages, skin cancer occurs, intestinal damages and reproductive system damages also occur due to radiation and particulate matters. So human body is affected in these many ways due to air pollution. So we must try to live in a healthy environment which is free from air pollution to lead a healthy life. Now we will see air pollution control, how we can control or curb this air pollution. Due to rapid industrialization and urbanization, it is very difficult to control air pollution. It cannot be fully prevented, but can be controlled at a certain level. So we can control air pollution using two methods. First is preventive measures, and second is control measures using equipments. So first we will see preventive measures, that is prevention of air pollution at the source itself. So at the generation source of air pollution, we can select a suitable fuel such as low sulfur coal in power plants, or we can use of CNG, that is compressed natural gas. So if we select a suitable fuel, we can reduce the generation of air pollution. We can also modify certain industrial processes. Some outdated processes can be replaced with modern processes so that the generation of air pollution is reduced. We can also select suitable site and do zoning for industrial units so that industrial units are separated from residential units, and in those zones of industrial units we can use certain controlling equipments so that air pollution can be reduced. After preventive measures, we will see control measures. When source control is not possible, some measures can be taken to prevent pollution. These includes collecting pollutants by using some air pollution controlling equipments such as fabric bag filters, electrostatic precipitators, cyclones, scrubbers, etc. So these are the equipments which we can use to collect the air pollutants at the source itself or in the nearby area of the source so that they are not spread it into a wider area. We can also destroy the pollutants by thermal or catalytic combustion. We can, after collecting the pollutants, we can change the pollutants to less toxic forms, and we can also release the pollutants through tall chimneys for greater dispersion. So if tall chimneys are used, the air pollutants will be released at a higher altitude, and this will stop the spreading of air pollutants in the nearby ground areas. Air pollution prevention is also achieved by applying some laws. Various laws has been established for controlling air pollution. These includes Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act Amendment, which was happened in 1987, Motor Vehicle Act 1988. This Motor Vehicle Act 1988 has been updated and amended just a year back only. Then Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Union Territories Rule 1983, and most important is Environment Protection Act 1986. So these are the laws which are used to control and curb the spread of air pollution. The government is also trying to reduce this air pollution. They are trying by using the removal of leaded petrol, which is a major cause of air pollution. The industrial acts are implemented to control harmful emission of gases. That is, we are controlling the processes, we are replacing the outdated processes from new updated processes. So industries can also control the generation of air pollution at the source itself. The natural management team work to minimize the effect of various natural disasters like forest fire, volcanic eruptions, which are a major contributor of air pollution. So if we manage these natural hazards in a better way, we can reduce the generation of air pollution. And as it has been said by some experts that prevention is better than cure. So if we prevent the generation of air pollution in large quantities, it is ultimately going to help us in the long run and will contribute in preparing a cleaner environment for our future generations. With this, we have reached our topic's end. This is it for today. Now I open this session for question answers. If you are having any doubt, you can ask me. Thank you very much.